Hello and welcome to our English news edition coming to you from Canal, Algérie. First, the headlines. As a representative of the President of the Republic, Ayman bin Abdurrahman is received by the Turkish President on the sidelines of his participation in the opening ceremony of the 5th edition of Islamic Solidarity Games. And the first Algerian gold medal is snatched by Amin Bouannani at the Islamic Solidarity Games in the 110 meters hurdles competition, whereas 2 bronze medals were won by Zouina Bouzerba and Abdelmalik Lahoulou. In its last issue, Al Jaish magazine reaffirms the statements made by the President of the Republic on the National People's Army being more than able to defend our country's sovereignty and unity of its people. Following the instructions of the President of the Republic, the Ministry of Transport announces complementary program in order to enhance the air transport program for travelers towards several international destinations during the summer season of 2022. Abroad, the social injustice and poverty keep drowning the Moroccan people in an unprecedented chaos exacerbated by drought affecting the whole country. Good evening, those are today's headlines. And on the sidelines of the opening ceremony of the 5th edition of the Islamic Games, the Prime Minister was received by the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Ayman bin Abdurrahman conveyed to the Turkish President the greetings of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. In addition to the state and the prospects of development of the relations between the two countries, the means of concretization of the results of the last visit of the President of the Republic to Turkey were tackled during the audience. The President Erdogan asked the Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman to convey his warm greetings to the President of the Republic, expressing his thanks for Algeria's participation in the opening ceremony of this 5th edition.
تشرفت بمقابلة مع السيد رئيس رجب طيب أردوغان.
I had a meeting with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in view of enshrining the decision taken by the two presidents during the last visit of President Abdelmajid Tebboune to Turkey. We also discussed several files, including those regarding investments and economy, in order to move forward towards a new era of investment, economic and commercial exchanges between the two countries.
التبادلات الاقتصادية والتجارية والعلاقات الاستثمارية بين البلدين.
Later on, Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman held talks with his Palestinian counterpart, Mohammed Shattia. The two parties renewed on the occasion their attachment to the deeply rooted brotherly relations binding the two peoples. The Palestinian Premier expressed the gratitude of the Palestinian state and people for Algeria's unwavering support to the Palestinian cause, as well as the sustained efforts of the Algerian President for the achievement of the inter-Palestinian reconciliation. Still in Konya, Turkey, where Amin Bouannani offered Algeria on Wednesday its first gold medal at the Islamic Solidarity Games. He snatched the first place after winning the 110 meters hurdles race with a new national record of 13.21 seconds. It is worth recalling that Algeria already won 2 bronze medals. The first was won by Zouina Bouzerba in the hammer throw competition, whereas the second was won by Abdelmalik Lahoulou in the 400 meters hurdles competition. In another context, the Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad Minister Mtal Amamra was received on Wednesday by the Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev, to whom he conveyed a message sent by the President of the Republic in which he expressed his brotherly greetings and the best wishes for the Azerbaijani President and people, wishing them more prosperity and development. Still with the diplomatic activity, and as a representative of the President of the Republic, the Foreign Affairs Minister Mtal Amamra met on Wednesday with his Azerbaijani counterpart Ceyhun Bayramov. The discussions were then followed by a working session devoted to bilateral relations, as well as the prospects and means to strengthen cooperation in the various fields. Two agreements were also signed regarding the creation of a consultation mechanism between the two countries and the exemption of diplomatic passports holders from an entry visa in both countries. And in a communique and pursuant to the instructions of the President of the Republic, the Ministry of Transport announced a complementary program, the implementation of which started yesterday in order to enhance the air transport program for travelers towards several international destinations during the summer season of 2022. Concerning the European destinations, 7 flights per week were added to the previous 7 ones from Algiers to Istanbul, and 2 flights per week from Constantine, Annaba and Oran provinces, 2 flights per week from Algiers to Vienna and Lisbon, and there is also 1 additional flight from Algiers to Frankfurt, which makes a total of 6 flights per week. As for the African network, the additional flight per week was added from Algiers towards Abidjan, Ouagadougou, Bamako and Libreville, in addition to 1 flight towards Dakar, which makes a total of 3 flights per week. 2 flights per week were also added towards Niamey. And regarding the Maghreb region and the Middle East, 7 flights per week were added to the previous 7 ones from Algiers to Tunis, and 2 flights per week were added from Algiers to Doha. The President of the Republic ordered the opening of airlines towards South Africa, Addis Ababa and the Republic of Congo. In a different context, the military parade of the 5th of July was on the front page of this month's edition of El Jaish magazine. Our army was up to the challenge and was able to kindle pride in the hearts of the Algerian people, both on a national level and abroad. Ines Killu has more details.
Our Army, the Source of Our Pride, is the title of the editorial of the magazine El Jaish in its 709th issue, an issue which returned at length to the military parade of July 5th, 2022. A parade that conveyed a message to the Algerian people in the first place to reassure them, but also to the outside world to show that the advanced equipment with which our army is equipped is exclusively intended for the defense of our homeland, as indicated by the Army General, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Saïd Chingriha. The editorial added that the rigorous organization of the parade in its all aspects and in its perfect execution by the different units proved the various statements made by the President of the Republic and the Army General, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Saïd Chingriha, regarding the possession of the National People's Army with deterrent force factors that enabled them to defend the national sovereignty and the unity of the people. The bright image presented by the National People's Army on this occasion, which for Algerians is one of the greatest national events, is above all a message of loyalty to our martyrs and an expression of its determination to protect and defend our country with dedication in all circumstances. The editorial continues that what has been achieved in the field is the result of the bet made by the High Command of the National People's Army on human resources by ensuring outstanding training commensurate with the level reached by major military schools around the world. It is also the fruit of the importance attached to it by the President of the Republic, who, since assuming the presidency of the Republic, has personally ensured the supervision of the new promotion ceremonies.
As part of the continuous efforts in the fight against terrorism and organized crime, units of the National People's Army carried out from the 3rd to the 9th of the current month several operations leading to high-quality results. More details with Sabrin Taferganit.
Within the framework of the fight against terrorism, detachments of National People's Army arrested 5 elements of support for terrorist groups in separate operations across the national territory, while other detachments of the NPA discovered and destroyed a bunker for terrorists and 2 handmade bombs in Skikda. As for the sustained efforts of combating organized crime and in continuity with the intense efforts to counter the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, combined detachments of the National People's Army arrested in coordination with the security services at the level of the 2nd and 3rd military regions 8 drug traffickers and thwarted attempts to smuggle quantities of drug across the borders with Morocco, amounting to 212 kilograms of treated cannabis, while 7 other drug traffickers were arrested and 49,286 psychotropic tablets were seized during several operations carried out through the military regions. In addition to that, detachments of the National People's Army intercepted in Tamanrasset, Borjbaji Mukhtar, Ain Gizam and Janet provinces 180 individuals and seized 18 vehicles. 332 generators, 250 jackhammers, 13 tons of raw gold and stones mixture, detonation tools and equipment used in illegal gold mining operations, while 14 other individuals were apprehended and 5 hunting rifles, 1 automatic gun, 80,519 tobacco packages and 3,367 units of foodstuff intended for smuggling, estimated to 105 tons, were seized in Wergla, Al-Wad, Biskra, Stif, Betna and Ain Gizam. In the same context, border guards thwarted in coordination with the services of the National Gendarmerie smuggle attempts of quantities of fuel amounting to 70,866 liters in Tamanrasset, Tibissa, Al-Tarif and Suqahras. Moreover, Coast Guards thwarted at the level of our national coast illegal immigration attempts and proceeded to the rescue of 60 individuals on board of handmade boats, while 268 illegal immigrants from different nationalities were arrested across the national territory.
Moving on to Morocco, the demonstrations continue. Oppression and the difficult economic and social situation keep worsening the living conditions of the people. These are just a few of the many serious indicators threatening the country's ruling regime. Ines Killu has the details.
Exceeded by social injustice, the decline in purchasing power and extreme poverty, Moroccans are determined to continue the struggle against the shameful acts of the Mahsen regime. Life is becoming more and more expensive in Morocco. The rise in prices has affected all products without exception, starting with basic foodstuffs. Vegetables and fruit haven't escaped the surge in prices, which has driven most Moroccans into misery, an unbearable situation against which the population is protesting, beating the pavement in several Moroccan cities. In addition to inflation, Moroccans denounce the mismanagement of the authorities, which has aggravated the current economic crisis in the country, a crisis exacerbated by the drought. The protesters no longer want to listen to any reason. They demand the end of the Mahsen regime and the resignation of all those who represent it. Despite poverty, unemployment and social injustice becoming commonplace, the Mahsen regime continued to ignore the growing social revolt, a revolt that is spreading throughout Morocco, revealing the seriousness of the social inequalities generated by an authoritarian regime that monopolizes the country's wealth. Moroccans are going through an unprecedented economic and social crisis, eliminating all layers of society, and protest movements are gaining ground.
And with this, our today's news edition comes to a close. Thank you for joining us.